Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video, we are going to implement a hit reaction system. Right now we just have a play montage node, and we have directly set a hit reaction montage. So we don't really have any systems in place to handle anything about hit reactions. While this works, this may not be as flexible as we would like. So let's implement a hit reaction system. So the way that we're going to do this is we're going to have different hit reactions based on the damage type. So let's say, for example, an enemy hits you with the normal damage type, and that should do like a normal hit stun hit reaction animation. But let's say an enemy hits you with explosion damage. Well, you may want the character to react in a way where he like knocks down or falls down on the ground and then gets back up. So doing different kinds of hit reaction based on the damage is a good way to go about this. So the way we're going to do this with damage types is we're going to have our base damage type class, and inside of our base damage type class we're going to store an enum, and we can use that enum to do different hit reactions. So go to Combat System Blueprints, and let's create a new folder. We'll call this one damage types. And now let's create a new blueprint class, and in all classes let's search for damage type, and we'll call it BP underscore attack damage type. Okay, and now we need to create our damage type enum, so let's go to Blueprints, Enums, and under Blueprints, select Enumeration, so we E underscore damage type. Okay, open it up, and let's add a few enumerators. First one will be none. Okay, and this one could be melee damage. So that would be for your standard normal melee damage for melee attacks. And this one could be knockdown damage. So you could apply this knockdown damage whenever you want the character to react with a knockdown. Okay, now go back to your damage type and let's add a new variable. And so we have type damage type. And we'll call this variable damage type. Okay, compile and save. Okay, and now what we can do is let's open up our blueprints, actors, base weapon. And here we can select our damage type class. Let's go ahead and promote this to a variable. We'll just leave that as damage type class. We'll put that in initialization. Okay, now compile, and the default value will be, we'll just do BP underscore attack type damage as the default value. Okay, and now that you've done that, let's go back to the combat player character. Here we have a damage type reference, so we can cast to attack damage type. And from here we can get damage type. Let's go ahead and create a new custom event. Do this right here. And we'll call this one apply hit reaction. Okay, let's add a new input. And this input will be damage type. And we'll call it in damage type. And we can remove both of these and paste them down here for now. And now we can run apply hit reaction. And for the in damage type, we can just plug in the damage type that we get from the damage type reference here. Now we can add a switch statement. And you can switch and do different types of hit reactions based on the damage type. So let's create a new function, and we'll call this one perform hit stun. Okay, and now let's cut both of these nodes and paste that into here. And so this is a functionality to perform a hit stun. And let's create a new function and perform knockdown. And we'll paste the same functionality in here, except you would have a different animation here for knockdown. Sadly, I don't have a free knockdown animation, but at least I could teach you how to set up the implementation for it. And so now we perform hit stun for melee damage, and we perform knockdown for knockdown damage. Okay, and now let's see if it still works. So we need to test it, we actually need to also update this character as well. So we don't need this. We can simply call apply hit reaction. And to get the damage type, we can drag out from damage type and cast to attack damage type. Okay, and now let's get damage type and plug that in here to the end damage type. Quick compile and save, but the issue that we're going to have is that it's going to play the wrong animation. So let's just promote this to a variable. We'll call it hit reaction montage. We'll call it hit reaction front montage. And then for knockdown, we can also promote that to a variable and knockdown front montage. Okay, compile and save. Now let's go to test dummy character and select class default. And let's get our standing react large front for this guy. Okay, now let's see if it works. Okay, so it's not working. The reason why it's not working is probably because it's going into the none. So what we could do in that case is just have none do perform hit stun. Okay, now it's working. So either you could do this, or you can go to the base damage attack type and set that to melee damage by default. And that's fine as well. Okay, now let's do different hit reactions for front and back. What we're going to need is some sort of value that lets us know if we should play the hit reaction front animation or the hit reaction back animation. And what we can use for that is .product. And so let's go ahead and start prototyping some functionality. Let's use event tick. This is just going to be for prototyping purposes, so we won't actually be using tick for this. Print string. And just so we can get the right values for our hit reactions, we can use the targeting system to help us prototype. So let's get target actor. And so this is pretty convenient to allow us to prototype some things by getting a reference to the targeted actor. So let's get .product2, and the other actor is going to be self. So .product is a function built into the engine, and we can use this for our purposes. So for event tick, let's just go ahead and print this and see what values we get. But before we do this, we need to add an isValid. Alright, now let's see what sort of values we get. Let's go ahead and target, and right now we're getting 0.9. So no matter which side you're on, if you're in front of the character, it seems like it's between 0 and 1. If you're behind the character, it looks like it's between -0 and -1. And you can use this to kind of walk around the character and see what sort of values that you like for front. So based on whatever values you like, you can adjust what the system detects as front. And so now what we can do is in range float. If it is within the range of, I'm going to say -0.1 and 1. If it is within that range, that means it is front. So I'm going to add a branch. And with this branch, I'm going to print front. Okay. So it's printing front. So it'll print front all the way until I get outside of that range. Once I do, it is no longer front. It is now back. And now it is front again. So I think that's pretty good. For my purposes, I'm going to keep it this way. So now we can remove this. We don't need it. Okay, and here on the damage event, we can paste this here. We need to get the instigated by. Let's get control pawn. And we'll have that as the target. And let's make a little bit more room. Let's promote this to a variable, b hit front. Okay, let's plug this in. Okay, now let's open up perform hit stun. Let's add a select node. And now let's create a local variable. We'll call it L_hit montage. We'll check, is it valid? If it is valid, then we continue. If it is not valid, then we simply return. And if you want, we can have an output to know if it was successful or not. Okay, let's get the boolean b hit front. Okay, if it is true, then we play the hit reaction front. If it is false, let's promote that to a variable, hit reaction back. We'll put these in a category montages. Okay, compile and save. And let's get the local variable here and plug that in. There we go. Instead of hit reaction front, actually let's call this hit stun front montage. And hit stun back montage. That way we can be consistent with our naming conventions. Okay, now let's copy all of this and do something similar for knockdown. And we'll just create local variable. Okay, let's get our local variable and plug that in here. And for knockdown montage front, this will be true. And we can duplicate this and have knockdown back montage. Now open up perform hit stun. Let's return true if it is successful. Do the same thing for knockdown. Okay, so it seems like it's giving us an error here. So to fix this, we simply need to refresh nodes and compile. Okay, that is fixed. Now you may want to have different impact effects and different hit sounds depending on the damage as well. So what you can do in that case is just highlight both of these and cut them, remove them from here, and let's add them to apply hit reaction. We can actually create a custom event, apply impact effect. And here we can also have in damage type. So I don't really need to have different impact effects based on the damage type for this small project. So I'm not going to do anything more here, but if you wanted to, what you could do if you had the VFX and everything like that is just add your switch statement, and you can have different things happen for impact effects based on the damage type. So maybe you want an explosion to have some kind of different impact effect. Okay, and so let's do apply impact effect, and we'll just plug the damage type in here. Oh, we didn't rename that, so let's go ahead and fix that. Oh, we did. Just compile then and see if that updates. Okay, we need to refresh nodes and then plug it in again. Okay, there it goes. Now everything should be set up properly. We'll call this one, add a comment, hit effects, and change the comment color. Okay, there's one more thing that we're going to have to do, and that is we need the hit location. So instead of storing just the hit location, let's store the hit info, just in case we need something from it. So last hit info. Okay, compile and save. Okay, and now let's go down here. Let's get our last hit info. And let's break. And let's get the hit location. Plug that in here. Okay, so there we go. Now that we've done this, we can go back to the test dummy character, and actually we don't need to override this any longer, because previously we were overriding this because we needed to set specific hit reaction animations. So now we don't have to keep coming in here and updating it anymore. We can just delete, and everything should still work. Let's test it out. Yep, everything still works just fine. So now we need an animation for hit back. So let's go to Combat System, Course Files, Animations, Hit Reactions. We need Standing React Large Back. So go ahead and select Enable Root Motion, make sure that is true, and save. Okay, and now we need to create a montage. We can simply copy the animation notifies that we use from here. Copy. And paste at original time. Okay, and now we need to retarget this for our test dummy character. So right click on this and duplicate and retarget animation assets. And we need UE5 to UE4 mannequin and retarget. Okay, here's our montage. We can select that, and then with that selected, let's go to the test dummy character, select class defaults, and for hit reaction back, we need to add an animation. Compile and save, and let's double check and make sure that root motion is true for this one as well, and it is. And for the player character, I'm going to make sure the animation is selected. Make sure it's the rat skeleton for the player. Compile and save. And let's test it out and see if it works. So I'm going to hit him from the front, and he plays hit front. Whenever I hit him from the back, he should play hit back. Okay, so it's not playing hit back. Let's see what sort of values we're getting. .9, 0.9, 0.9. Okay, so I think we need to flip the target and self here. Let's try that again. 0.9. Now it's working. So yeah, we just needed to flip target and other actor. So now target is self and other actor is the control pawn. Let's test it out. So hit reaction front works, and hit reaction back works. So everything works just fine. Now I'm going to talk about how you can use this system to create different kinds of damage and different kinds of hit reactions. And just as an example, I'm going to go to Combat System, Blueprints, Damage Types, and create a new Damage Type class. I'm going to call this one Knockdown Attack Damage Type. And let's open that up. And select Class Defaults, and here under Damage Type, we can select Knockdown Damage. Okay, compile and save. And what we can do now is, let's go to our Combat System, Blueprints, Actors, Tough Sword, and here under Damage Type class you can select Knockdown Damage Type. File and save. This is only for testing purposes, so let's go to this one. Let's just print a string. Knockdown Damage. Let's make it red. Let's see if that works. Knockdown damage. And so with that, you can see that you could create some actors such as a explosion actor. And whenever the explosion applies damage, you simply need to, whenever you call apply damage, you plug in the proper damage type class, and that allows you to have the character react however you want to, depending on the damage. But I'm going to set it back to normal now, so we'll go to Tough Sword, and let's just set it back to the default variable of attack type damage. Okay, now we can save all. That brings us to the end of this video. In this video, we have implemented a system for hit reactions that allows us to have different hit reactions depending on the damage type. So if, for example, you want explosions to cause a knockdown reaction, we have functionality to handle those types of scenarios for us. In addition, that gives us the ability to have different impact effects depending on the damage as well. And finally, we have implemented a way to detect if the hit was from the front or the back. And with this video finished, that also brings us to the end of the advanced combat section. So congratulations for making it this far, and thank you for finishing this section. In the next section, we are going to build a combat AI system.